and look and search and look. You know, it's not. You can't go to the regular Webster Dictionary and look up filigree. But see, those words are used to keep the Christians from being alarmed and awakened. He refused to recognize the filigree in the creed. Filigree means he refused to recognize Christ in the creed. What creed? The creed that was set up at the Council of Nicaea I, when they took this image of Serapis and inserted it in the creed and made it part of the Nicene Coptic Egyptian creed of Osiris, Isis, and Horus, the S-U-N. He refused to recognize it. Still arguing now. This is 69 and 870. Argument still going on. From 320 BC all the way up until, now you opened over 800 years of argument over whether this thing had a human nature or not. You see that? You see? So, and then the third thing he refused to do, he refused to practice celibacy. See, I'm not going to practice celibacy, man. All these fine chicks around here, you think I'm a damn fool. No, sir. He refused to do that. See? So they called another council meeting for him. The Council of Constantinople IV. That was to admonish Photius, but he held on. Yeah. So let me fast forward a little bit, and we're going to come to the end of my presentation, and we're going to go into the time of the Crusades. All this has something to do with Christianity. See? The Crusades started, the first crusade was 1096. All crusades took place where? I didn't ask you. But anyway, it took place in Africa. See, people think crusades was in Europe. No. It's in Africa, known today as the Middle East. Okay? That's where the crusades were. Alexis I Komnenos. He was a Byzantine emperor. After the Seljukian Turks began to cause trouble for the Byzantine Empire and the Byzantine emperors, the Seljukian Turks erupted out of Iran in 1071. Okay, ACE. And they began to disrupt the rhythm and the power of the Byzantine emperors and that Byzantine empire. So what they did, see, those Seljukian Turks was fierce fighters, and they would call these Byzantine rulers would call to Europe for European mercenaries to come in to help them fight the Seljukian Turks. So this is what caused the crusade to come about. And when he called for help to the west, to send troops over there to save, now this is what traditional history said, to save Christendom. Damn lie. Those crusaders was not coming over there. He wanted them to come over there to save his empire. Not no Christianity. And those crusaders came over there not to save his empire either. They came over there looking for land that they can take and claim their own. Right. Okay? So, in 1096, you had Peter the Hermit. You ever heard of Peter the Hermit? And Walter the Penniless. Peter the Hermit came out of France. Walter the Penniless came out of Italy. They came over there, supposedly. By the time they got over there, they had been intercepted by so many different factions that they came over there with a little ragged group of men. Okay? But in the meantime, the rich barons began to send troops over there, men over there, armies over there. Why did the rich barons want to go over there in that land? To get land for themselves. See? And these Byzantine rulers gonna get these men, the head of the armies that came over there, said, now, when you confiscate some land and defeat these Turks, you give it back to me. Now, he said, oh yeah, we're gonna do that. Shh. Like, yeah. So what happened? Solomon bar Isaac, called Rashid, the man that formulated the protocols for Judaism and for the conduct of the rich barons, okay, sent an army over there under the leadership of Godfrey of Debuya and his brother Baldwin. They came out of the north of France. And then another another rich baron sent Raymond with another army from Toulouse, all coming out of France, out of the southern part of France, Toulouse, France. And then another army was led by and commanded by Stephen of Blois, B-O-L-I-S, Blois, France. And then you had Bohemond coming out of Italy. Those are the 4 baron armies coming into, and during the time of the Crusades, okay, into Northeast Africa, into Turkey, and the surrounding areas. See that? They didn't come over there to say no Christendom. They didn't come over there to say no land and defeat the Turks and give back the land to the Byzantine rulers. No, no, no. Okay? So what they did, they came over there and those Turks defeated them. All of those armies, except for Godfrey and his army that was sent in there by Solomon bar Isaac, called Rashid. When you study the historical origin of Judaism, they'll tell you that Rashid is in all Jewish studies. Okay, that's what they tell you. Okay. Now, what in the army of Godfrey were Christian soldiers. Godfrey himself was a Christian. Is that correct, Annetta? The emblem of Godfrey was a red cross with 4 other red crosses in that big red cross. He had a big red cross like that, right? And you had a little cross here, a little cross there, a little cross here, a little cross there. That's called the equestrian cross. Okay? Went on to be what? The emblem of the Red Cross that we have today. In his army, you had these Christian soldiers, right? They came over and they seized Jerusalem in 1099. And they built themselves a walled city around Jerusalem. You see that? And they live inside of the walled city. But they paid their way to stay there. So the Turks would not bother them. They paid a dehemi tax. See? A dehemi tax is paid to a sovereign power for me to stay where I want to stay on this land, which is your land, without being in the other was rent. Okay? And those inside that compound that they built, guess what organized within the Godfrey and Baldwin's army. They began to organize for the very first time. For the very first time, they began to organize. They're known in history as. Yes. Please be heard. The Knights Templar. The Knights Templar came into being. They came over in 1099 in Jerusalem, and in 1118 they organized themselves and began to call themselves the Knights Templars. Okay, and the Hospitallers was over there too. That's the White Cross. And then, see, and then in 1118, 10 years later, they got their emblem, which is the compass. The compass is nothing but two pyramids, one up and one down. Okay? And those two pyramids is known today also as the Star of David. Star of David. Okay? One up and one down. Coming from the Knights Templar. They also went on to become the first Freemason group on earth. Scottish Rites. Okay? It's all history. They paid their way over there. They paid their way to stay there. Okay? Then other rich barons began, now listen to this, began to go to them because Solomon Bar Isaac was a rich baron out of Trees, France, who was a wine grower, vineyard owner, the one that laid the foundation for Judaism and the protocols for the rich barons. Okay? He said, when you get over there, find this land, any kind of land, and build me a temple. Okay? So his name was Solomon Bar Isaac, called Rashi. So they built a temple of who? Solomon. Inside that wall compound. And then the other rich barons began to do the same thing, having these Knights Templars to build them temples over there. And that's how, from the rich barons giving them money to stay there, that's how they was able to pay their Dehemi tax for 192 years. Until 1291, when the Mamelukes out of Egypt ran them out of there. And they went into the island of Rhodes, they ran into Scotland and began to create what is known as Scottish Rites. That's your first, those were your first practitioners of Judaism, the religion. But it wasn't like it is today. But that goes into another history. So then you go into still these crusaders coming over there, fighting. It's all in my book. I wrote it down. And I brought you up to where the Byzantine emperors was segregated and only allowed to operate within the double-walled city of Constantinople until Muhammad II came along in 1453 and took a cannon and blew a hole in the side of the city of Constantinople and entered there and took over the Hagia Sophia and made it into a mosque. That's the Hagia Sophia. And before that, John 8, I told you, went into